Let me get started in a little sec. Am I still muted?
Yeah,
Okay.
Paul is here. Good. Hi, Paul. Good to see you. Thank you for joining. We have Andrea here.
Hey guys, so great to connect. Yeah, I'm excited for today's live, a little training session. It's gonna be fun.
Okay, let me start with the introduction. So we've got Andrea Smith here today, and she's a remote career expert and coach. She is, I'll let you talk more about yourself, but keep story short, me and Andrea have been working on a joint special program, and we got to know each other a couple of months ago in Bansko Nomad Fest. So that was a Nomads Festival, which was a lot of fun. And we decided that we can build something valuable for the benefits of all. So we're doing these lives. We want to teach you, we want to share. I decided to have Andrea here with my audience. So thank you so much for taking the time. Andrea is now having a retreat. She's organizing a retreat. So she's basically found 26 minutes in between sessions. So thank you for that. And she's ready to go.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I'm ready to go. I'm actually, as Shlomo said, doing a Cape Town retreat. So I run digital nomad retreats, co-living, co-working ones in different locations, and I do the coaching. So there's a lot happening, but I'm making some time for you guys today to do a little bit of training. We've got so many things we could cover, but we're just gonna today cover the 5 steps to getting into the digital nomad lifestyle and making that transition, and 3 mistakes that digital nomads make. So yeah, guys, I think today it's going to be like me chatting, teaching you the steps, and then as you get questions, you can hop in, ask them, or at the end we can answer them as well. How does that sound, Sherman?
Sounds great.
Awesome. Okay, guys, so thanks so much for having me. Like Shlomo said, I'm Andrea. I'm the founder of Work Wanderers. If you don't know what that is, you can have a little look on Google. And yeah, I've been doing remote career coaching since 2020. It actually led in from me running retreats, and I've been nomading for the last 5 years. And before that, I was in marketing, in marketing and strategic jobs for about 8 years, and was a digital marketing expert. And then moved into kind of career coaching. And a lot of the stuff I do is very business focused. So today I'm going to talk about the 5 steps that we put together in terms of transitioning into becoming a successful digital nomad. So Shlomo, you can feel free to jump in whenever. I'm going to go through each step. There's a few points under each. This is a very summarized version, guys. Normally, course, and it's very elaborate, but today we're going to just cover so that you can get some nuggets of information, and then you can ask some questions. Cool. Okay, guys, so I'll start with the first step. Are you ready? Okay, so a lot of you might want to become digital nomads, or you've been thinking about it for a while. Some of you might even have a 9-to-5 job where you're thinking of going remote full time, or you might not be happy in your job. But the first step to making this transition and doing it properly is to get career clarity. Now, that sounds very simple to a lot of people, but you'd be surprised. Once you think about, can I do this? Am I going to become a digital nomad? We think about, does my career work with this? Am I going to make enough money? Are the logistics going to work out? So first off, guys, when we look at getting career clarity, the most simple step is, do you have the right online skills? So I think a lot of the people in Shlomo's group already have some online skills, or they're working online in some way. But you really need to audit yourself and determine, are these online skills something you can do remotely and from anywhere? And secondly, are these the online skills you want to harness in a career going forward? So you might be doing something online, but it might not necessarily be making you happy or something you want to do. There's tons of different online jobs that you can jump into as a digital nomad, but you need to really understand what is going to work for you. So online skills is the first thing you need to get clarity on. Once you have clarity on that, you need to decide what type of worker you are going to be. Now, there's three types of traditional digital nomad, if there's such a thing. But really what they are is the first one is a remote worker. Now, you might be most familiar with this one, especially since the pandemic. A lot of you might have already been working remotely and it's kind of comfortable and you kind of like it and want to do it full time, or maybe you're already doing it full time, but you're not traveling yet. But being a remote worker is a great option if you enjoy a stable income and you like working in a team and having that camaraderie, but also that stability. It also gives you perks and benefits, as you guys well know. So the remote worker path is probably one of the most popular paths for digital nomads. Like I said, the most stable. The only downside is if you choose this path, you are going to be limited when it comes to time zones. Employers might require you to actually be within the country, even though you're working remotely. So there are more limitations when it comes to being a remote worker. Like I said, there's pros and cons to all these different paths. You can't always have it all. So you've got to weigh up what's most important to you.
I want to add here.
Yeah, sure.
So there are also employers that go more towards async work environment. So if you want to go with these kind of companies, that would enable you to be on probably any time zone. The thing is that you need the company culture need to support that. So with that extent, you need to find remote first companies. So companies that started already remotely, they know what's the lifestyle, and they most of the time work at no time zone, basically. Any time zone would work.
Exactly. So yeah, there definitely are options where you could work in any time zone. But yeah, you definitely need to look for those remote first companies like Shlomo said. Cool. So that's the one part. The second part I would say is the freelancer route. This is where you get the most freedom and flexibility. I would say this has the lowest barrier to entry, as if you are someone who wants to start completely from scratch and you really want to get into a new field, you can upskill in this area. You can, for example, you want to become a software developer or programmer, you can learn that skill online. It will take some time. It's not going to be like this. But there are luckily a lot of online programs, courses, boot camps that can facilitate that. Other examples, copywriters, blog writers, anything marketing related. And there's so many different spheres as well, that like video editing. There's a lot of things you can get into as a freelancer. I actually have a list of, I think 40 online freelancer jobs that you can get into. If anyone wants that, just send me a DM. But yeah, freelancer route is great. The only downside is you do need to get retainer clients to allow for more stability. What a retainer client is someone that pays you every single month. And if you don't have retainer clients, you can be on the lookout for new clients every month, and that can become quite tiresome. So you need to determine what type of freelancer you're going to become and how can you get those retainer clients. That's going to help you become more sustainable as a digital nomad. Okay, I'm not going to go into too much depth. There's so much we could talk about of each of these three, but these are just the ideas that you know which path, what paths they are, and then you can decide what's best for you. The last one's the entrepreneur route. That's the one I took. The entrepreneur route is definitely probably the most fulfilling route because it's all about your passion that you can put into a business. It's your time. So you will feel very fulfilled. What's great about the entrepreneur route too is there's no ceiling in terms of income. When you're a freelancer, you only have so much time that you can give because you're selling your time for money, essentially. You can work around it and do some packages, but at the end of the day, you will have a limit on the amount of money you can make. When it comes to the entrepreneur route, you can sell products, services that can scale. You could do group programs, you could do an e-commerce store, whatever it is, you can, make quite a lot of money as you grow. The downside to being an entrepreneur is it takes a lot of time to grow and to make that money. And you need to be you need to have a very persistent, perseverance type personality. If you're someone who struggles or gives up at the first time of a hardship, this is definitely not the route for you. You need to be a little bit honest with yourself and do a bit of reflection and think, what is going to work for me? We all want to kind of, follow our passions and do our own thing. But if you're someone who prefers to get an income, or you're someone who prefers, if you think, well, I might not make money for 6 months and that's, not great or scary, then maybe the entrepreneur route isn't for you, because it does take a lot of perseverance and time. I get a little bit, there's a lot of coaches out there, but I get a little bit turned off when I see, make 100K in your first month. I still want to see that truly happen for someone. But I don't want to discourage you. If you're someone who's innovative, you've got a great idea, and you have the perseverance, I would highly recommend this route. Just know that it's going to be a journey, but it could be the most rewarding and fulfilling journey of your life. So it's what I did. It's, I've been in business now for over 4 years, and I wouldn't change a thing. So I give you the pros and cons, think about what's best for you, and then choose the route. So remember, we're on step 1 right now with career clarity. We've looked at your online skills. First basic step of being a nomad, you need to work online. Second step is knowing what route works for you. There's a few other paths you can take as a nomad. I'm not going to go into that now. The third thing you need to do when it comes to career clarity is alignment. Okay, so I speak about this a lot because what happens is we might watch a Google ad and it says you need to be a digital marketer. There you're going to make tons of money, or start a marketing agency. I see this a lot. But a lot of the time we don't actually think, is this good for us? Does this align with our purpose, our passion? Is this what aligns with our zones of genius? So I'm going to break that down quickly. Alignment essentially is, I've got this career triangle that I've made up. And if you guys work with any of us going forward, you'll do this in a lot of depth. But the alignment triangle takes into account your purpose, number 1, your passions, number 2, and your zones of genius, number 3. Okay, your purpose is what makes you tick. It's your motivation driver, what gets you up in the morning. An example of your purpose could be, for me, it's to help people. It's kind of something you really need to take time to reflect on and discover. When you find your purpose, it will feel like a clicking moment because it's inside of you. You know what it's there. You might just not have figured it out yet. It takes us a bit of time to get there. But if you can understand your core purpose, what makes you tick, what makes you happy, what just drives you, if you can align that to your career, it's going to make you very successful. So yeah, the first one is purpose when it comes to alignment. The second one is passions. Now, a lot of people are like, well, I'm passionate about football, or I'm passionate about skateboarding. Not always is that going to be able to be pulled into your career, but it could be, right? So I think I had someone who, like a fitness coach. They're really passionate about, being fit and healthy, but they weren't really a coach before. So they took fitness, they took their desire for helping people, they put it together, and they are now a fitness coach. So there are ways you can do that. You could also work for an industry that you're passionate about. Maybe you are passionate about the football industry and you're a copywriter for them. So if you can align those 3 things, so what did I say? Purpose, passion. The third ones are zones of genius. Zones of genius are your natural aptitudes. This is what you are great at. If you ask your friends, what are you good at? That is your zone of genius. It could be communication. It could be problem solving. It could be you super detail oriented and analytical and focused. Whatever it is, think about your zone of genius and harness that. If you're in a job right now and you feel like it's a struggle, every day is tough. Why is that? Like, are you in a role that maybe isn't utilizing your unique zone of genius, trying to do other skills that maybe aren't naturally you or what you got at? We learn skills all the time. We have lots of new hard skills, but if we utilize our zone of genius, that makes us so powerful in our career. Okay, guys, so that's career clarity. That's step 1 in getting into this lifestyle. And really, it's whenever you make a career change, it's not just about becoming a digital nomad. It's like any career change, you should think about these things. Okay, so that's step 1. Are we ready for step 2, guys? Step 2. Okay, so now we're getting into some nitty-gritty about actually getting into becoming a digital nomad. So now you're in your 9 to 5 or whatever job you have, and you want to make a change, but you don't know where to start. Okay, so step 2 is called developing an exit strategy. Now, an exit strategy, you might have heard of it, maybe when you leave a job or these types of things. It's quite similar, but we kind of adapted it to becoming a digital nomad. Okay, so first off, I want you to think an exit strategy is a strategy we create to leave our current situation. Once we create the strategy, we will commit to it, and there will be a time when we leave, right? So that's an exit strategy. Okay, so now we think about it. Okay, I'm in my current job. I want to do this, this, and this. I'm still kind of figuring it out, but I have some clarity on my career now. Now I need to make this change. First off, I want you to think about a slow or fast transition in your exit strategy. Okay, a slow transition means you are in your current job, your 9 to 5. Here's an example, but you want to be a freelancer. Now, if you do a slow transition, it means you're going to get maybe one client while you're still in your 9 to 5 job. Okay, so let's say you are let's say you're a copywriter at a company. And that's your 9 to 5, but you want to do freelance copywriting. This is when you're going to transition and you're going to actually get out there and try. Excuse me. Got a cough, guys. I coughed the whole day. You're going to try and get there and get freelance copywriter clients. Excuse me. Cool. I knew this was going to happen.
Do you want to take a minute?
Yeah, hold on.
Got a glass of water.
My favorite part is that she's just going with it. I love it. It's awesome. It's so real. And
that's real life.
Home. Yes, it's hitting home. It's so real. And this is real life.
You know, part of the magic of working remotely is real life. You know,
exactly.
Kids coming in, but things happen, and that's okay. Well, my side kids sometimes.
Yeah, guys. Actually, I had this cough. My eyes are watering. I had this cough like since yesterday, and I'm staying in the co-living house, and someone else had it. And I'm like, please, let's not all get sick. Okay.
You're surviving. You're surviving.
I'm a bit teary, guys, but still bear with me. Okay, so slow or fast transition. The slow transition is when you're going to get your copywriter clients on the side as a freelancer. Now, if you do that, guys, I would say this is a great way to like get your first retainer client if you are a little bit nervous about jumping kind of headfirst into this new lifestyle. So yeah, try and think about what's better for you, a slow or fast transition. I never really recommend a fast transition if you're someone without any savings, because regardless of what you do, if you do a fast transition, which means you quit tomorrow or you give your leave and you have like, you kind of have a plan, but it's not great. This fast transition is actually one of my mistakes that I made when I started. So it can be done. I did it. But so if you hate your job and you want to get out of there, like it can happen, but it might be a bit more of a struggle just getting set up. Okay. So deciding your exit strategy, how are you going to do that? Are you going to start getting a client now, or are you going to quit and just get going and figure everything out? Well, we're going to figure it out together, but yeah, I'm giving you the steps. Okay, the next part about developing your exit strategy is look at whether you need to upskill. So you need to have an upskill game plan. Now, some of you might already have enough skills. You might not need to upskill, but I have some clients who are starting from scratch. Like they have never done this online skill. So either you moving into a new career or you have never worked online. And in that case, you would definitely need to upskill. I would say upskilling takes realistically between at least 3 to 6 months. That's being kind of, if you have a lot of time and you're just willing to learn, but you really need to commit if you're starting from scratch. If you have just a few things you need to upskill on, then that's fine. And some people also, you know, they have quite a lot of imposter syndrome because they're like starting out and you might have really amazing skills, but then you think, but I've never been a freelancer. I don't know. Can I do this? I'm telling you right now, if you've got these online skills, you can do it. You just need to believe in yourself and like harness, like look at the experience you've had over the years and what you've done. You can even write down all the skills you have if you're unsure. And you can just do that exercise where you write them down and you can be as detailed or not detailed as possible. But yeah, it helps people just realize, wow, I have a lot of skills. I can do this, right? So upskill game plan if you need it. If you don't, just reflect on your skills so you know what you can offer. Okay. Yeah, sure.
from my experience, almost any profession you can really make into something online that you can do remote. It's the mindset shift might be hard, but in terms of how to do that, you can really maybe not do 100% of what you've done, but close to that, but still be online. So even very offline kind of professions. I don't know, you were a yoga teacher. There are tons of platforms where you can go and teach yoga online. You can write about yoga. You can develop product about yoga. There are tons of things that you can do. You can sell yoga products. So yoga is still your life. You love doing that. It's a matter of how you do the same thing, but online and remote.
For sure. I love that point, Shlomo, because that's the thing. It's almost about your mindset and how you can take your skills and package them online and help and serve like your audience in a different way, so that you can scale more or just have more freedom and flexibility. So that's really cool. And then the last part about developing your exit strategy is to create income expectations. So remember, we want to move into this digital nomad lifestyle. But I want you to think like, you know, you're in your current job, and this is the thing that's the biggest fear for most people making the change, is they're scared they're not going to make the same amount of money as they are right now in their current job. And I always talk to them and say, okay, so let's say you're making 5K in your current job, but you worry you're not going to make that because you're transitioning into a freelancer career. First of all, when you make any transition or career change, there will probably be an income dip because you need to build up your customer base and your streams of income, right? That's going to happen. So we need to expect it. Secondly, if we're going to be a digital nomad and you're going to travel, I want you to get into the mindset that traveling doesn't equal expensive. Because when you travel as a nomad, you're not going on holiday. So I want you to think you're not on holiday. When you go on holiday in the past and you've been like going lavish hotels, you know, and you really splurging, you know, just kind of whipping out your wallet here and there. That's not how it is to be a nomad. Because when you're a nomad, the mindset is that you are living, you're not on holiday, right? So income expectations, let's say you were making 5K and now you only make 2K. If you only make 2K, this is in dollars, by the way, or we can use any currency actually, or not any currency, euros or dollars, to be more relative. But let's say you only made 2K, you could live in Bali, for example, on 2K. Quite comfortably. So it's also getting in the mindset that even if you make less, you can still live in a tropical amazing destination on a lower income. Now, of course, we don't want to drop our income and stay there. We want to be consistent or increase our income over time. But remember, number one, you're making a career shift. There will probably be a drop in income at first. Unless you're moving directly into a parallel role, like a remote job, and you're able to get an equal or salary or a higher salary. But if you're going into freelancing or into entrepreneur, there might be an initial dip. And then as you get more clients and grow, you will make more money. So income expectations is extremely important. If you don't create that, then you probably won't make the change. You'll write this exit strategy and it'll never happen because you're going to be scared that you're not going to meet that same income threshold that you have. Okay, guys, so that's number 2 in developing an exit strategy. Number 2 in your steps to becoming a digital nomad. This is an important step because a lot of time we overlook this step. We just say, oh, we're just going to do it. That's cool. I like the motivation. But I think that if we have this exit strategy, it'll make you a lot more confident in making this change. Awesome. Okay. So remember I said, you know, we can talk about this in depth for hours, but we just got an hour here. So I'm going to get through it. Okay. Step number 3, guys. Now, this is once you've made the decision, you've got the career clarity, you've done your exit strategy. And the third step, this is a bit more for the freelancers and entrepreneurs, but I'll talk about remote workers as well. But it's kind of like designing your business model. The third step is the foundational building. Now, you can do this, like I said, if you're doing a slow transition while you're in your 9 to 5, or you can do this when you jump straight in. Okay, but I would recommend thinking about it already in your 9 to 5 and trying to put something together. But what does it mean? Designing your business model. If you're a freelancer or entrepreneur, you need to really start thinking about your business. by the way, being a freelancer is a business. You might think of it as selling your hours for money, but you're not. You're a brand. You're a service provider. You're offering packages that people need. So you need to think of yourself as, first and foremost, as a business, okay? Mindset. Entrepreneur, you're a business. If you're a remote worker, this stage is, I'm going to be transitioning into a new remote job. What does that entail for me? Okay, so the next two, like 3 and 4, is going to be a little bit more geared towards freelancers and entrepreneurs if you want to make that transition. But I'll just bring in a bit of remote work as well. Okay, so number 3, design your business model. There are 3 things you need to really focus on in this section. Number 1, and these are 3 foundational things on designing your business model. Number 1 is really knowing your audience. Who's your target market? Now, we hear about niche target market all the time, but guys, it's so important because there's like millions, if not billions, of freelancers out there, and that's kind of scary to think about. But if you, like I said, remember I talked about alignment, purpose, passion, zones of genius. That's going to help you know who your audience is, okay? Because it's going to bring in your passion or something, whatever it is. Think about who you talk to, who resonates with you, who resonates with your products, who you're going to speak to. Your audience needs to be a niche, like I said, a specific group of people, but not too small that there's a minority of people that you can't sell to, but not too big that everyone's doing it. So this takes a bit of time. You need to do some market research when looking into different audiences and target markets. But this is a foundational step. If you don't do a niche and you're like, well, I'm just going to freelance, I'm going to be a copywriter for whoever, you're going to struggle because there's so many copywriters out there. And without referrals, you will really, really struggle. So if you, for example, could be a copywriter for spiritual coaches, yeah, if I'm a spiritual coach and you come to me and say you're a copywriter, I know because you told me my language, you know what I need. And if you've never done it, you've got to start somewhere. Your first client will always be the hardest, but once you have that, you're going to get referrals and you're going to get more clients. Okay, so remember we are number 3, design your business model. First thing is audience. Next is packaging your products. Look at your offers. You need to create irresistible offers. I'm not going to talk about exactly how to do that now because that's a whole live in itself. Shlomo can tell me if you guys want to learn about that. But what I can give you tips on is package your offers in a way that's easy for your client to get. It can be low, medium, and high ticket offers. It could be packages like a bronze, gold, bronze, silver, medium package if you're a freelancer. If you're a freelancer, I'd say rather don't sell hours for money because you're going to get burnout. Sell like a $500 package for 10 hours, but it doesn't even have to say hours. It could say 5 social media posts and 5 TikToks. And, you create a package essentially.
I would say even more than that. I would say sell a result. And then whatever that result is, if it takes you, and of course, I'm exaggerating here, 10 minutes or 10 hours to get that client to that results. That's what they're looking for. And that's what they're paying for.
Exactly.
Not for your work, for the result.
Exactly. I'm so glad you mentioned that, Shlomo, because we have a whole section, I think, in our program that we're going to do about transformation and helping people get from point A to B or X to Y. Because when you create a product or service, they don't actually, the package itself is great. This is something you need to have so someone can buy it, but they need to know what are they getting from this package or product or offer? What is the results at the end of the day? So if you don't have that, it could be something that's really missing in your messaging. But yeah, we go into a lot of detail about that, but make sure they always say, make sure you meeting a need or demand in the market. What are the pain points of your customers and meet them? If you do, you will create the results they need. And then have packages and products and offers that are irresistible, that have a high perceived value. It should always have high value. I always expect like my clients to put a lot of value into their products or offers, but make sure that it looks so great, it would be a no-brainer for them to join or to buy. Okay, and then the third thing in when designing your business model is start looking at awareness. How are you making yourself, how are you creating that online presence? Now, this is the one that a lot of people get stuck on because We have so many ways to get out there as a business owner, as a freelancer. Even as a remote worker, you still need to have a strong online presence when you're looking for a job. You need to have a solid LinkedIn profile, CV. You need to really make sure you could even have a portfolio website. You really need to make sure that that looks crisp and clean and ready for people to hire you. Same with a freelancer. And if you're a service business owner or even sell products, awareness is extremely important. Now, we can have, like I said, a whole life. This is such a huge part of it. Number 3, but awareness is kind of like if you guys have something that you want to sell, whatever it is, and you don't tell people about it, no one's going to ever buy it. It's so obvious, but so many people are doing like educational posts or whatever on Instagram. That is part of the content strategy. But if you don't sell, talk about what you do, network, put yourself out there, then you're not going to ever be profitable. So awareness is a huge part that you need to start thinking about. Some areas to create awareness is social media, number 1, websites. Making sure your SEO is really top notch if you do have a website. Other ways you can do awareness is PR, and that's a bit more old school, but I will say if you're a people-facing type business, then anything where you are putting yourself out there, connecting with people, that is a great way to create awareness. Some other ways are lead magnets. Remember, we want to start catching leads. These are email addresses in most cases. But awareness is at the top of the funnel, and this is where we get people to get used to us. So doing lives like this, now you guys know who I am. That's awareness, I guess. And Shlomo will go in my group. But it's really about putting yourself out there and, giving value and adding as much value in the industry that you are trying to serve. Okay, so that's designing your business model. There's a lot to it, guys. This is a quick live, but that's the 3rd step that you really need to do. I just want to touch on with remote workers. For this step, it's not really a business model that you are creating, but if you're transitioning into another role, you need to really make sure, like I said, your LinkedIn is up to date. You need to make sure that you can put together an interview strategy. So when you are going to interviews for remote roles, how are you starting out? It's no different to any other 9-to-5 interview, but you need to also make sure you can stand out, because everyone wants these remote roles, especially ones without the 9-to-5 bracket. As well as you need to ask the right questions. So preparing yourself, like the design section that I'm talking about, it's all about preparation. So preparing yourself as well is extremely important as a remote worker, because you need to ask the right questions. If you don't ask those questions, you could get hired for a job where you're just working 9-to-5 in US hours, and it's no different to your other job. Okay, so guys, that was step 3. It's a lot of information, but I hope you got some little nuggets out of there. Step 4 is the exciting part. If you are a freelancer or entrepreneur, remote workers, I'm afraid this one you can skip. Although I will say one thing you can touch on in a second, but yeah, this is more for freelancers and entrepreneurs. Number 4 is to get clients. Now, getting clients is probably the one thing most people are most fearful of not happening when you start out as a freelancer or online entrepreneur. Because what if I do all of this and I don't get a client? What if I don't make money? What if it doesn't work, guys? And those limiting beliefs creep in. And that can actually stop you from becoming a digital nomad and living like me and Shlomo. So I want you to get rid of that. And I want you to remember that every time you go on Instagram and you see coaches, you see business owners, you see freelancers throwing up Pinterest, freelancing, all this stuff, all those people started from scratch and they are making a living doing that. And they are traveling the world as digital nomads. Well, not all of them. Some of them are in their home country working remotely and some of them are traveling. But regardless, they started and they did it. So you can get clients. So I just have to start with a bit of that because so many people get stuck right here. Okay, so when we look at getting clients, of course, that first client, remember I said you do it before in the exit strategy or in designing your business model, get one client in that transition. But when we move to the 4th step, I want us to start thinking a bit longer term so that we can live sustainably as a digital nomad. We need to create systems for sales. Now, if you are someone who is a bit scared of sales, or sales is something that feels a bit icky, because it can be, don't worry. This is why we create systems. You test different systems out, and then once you find the one that works for you and your personality and your business, you can then go forward and actually create like a sales funnel. So if I'm speaking a lot of jargon now, don't worry. All you need to know is when you get to step 4, look into creating a simple sales funnel. Now, if you don't know what a sales funnel is, we talked about awareness at the top, and it's basically moving your customer down all the way to your product or service that you sell. It could be, I'm going to give an example of a simple system. Simple system is, you start off with your social media. You have a cool social media, let's say Instagram. You're posting on Reels, cool, this is great. Everyone knows, yeah, Andrea, she's traveling and she's a coach. They follow you. Then on your Reel, on a story, you post about the top 25 digital nomad jobs, and you have a lead magnet. This is the second part of your funnel. A lead magnet is, it could be a PDF, and it could just be like 25 tick boxes, and it could be 25 jobs you can get as a digital nomad. I don't know if that was my example, but basically what it is, it's a PDF. I'll say don't create it, don't take longer than 2 to 4 hours to create it. Make sure it's value, but a lot of the time people just want something easy and quick that's free. Now, lead magnet, what happens is someone will go onto a page, they will download your lead magnet, and in exchange for a free download, they will give you the email address. Okay, so once you start collecting email addresses, you grow your email list, and emails are basically a direct way that you can communicate with your ideal client. Okay, so they're moving down the funnel, you have their emails. The next section is to send weekly, I would say either maybe twice or 3 times a week, emails that are educational, that tell them about your products, that tell them about your story. You move them down the funnel. This is called nurturing, because they're getting to know you, they trust you, and they may never buy from you, and that's completely fine. They're still fans of yours, and that's awesome. But some of them may really think this is something that works for me. Remember, don't forget about promoting your products, but as they move down the funnel, they're going to get to a point where you have a launch, or you have a program, or you have something that you are selling. Then you're going to say, hey guys, I've got a $7 offer. It's my freelancer starter kit. And it is on a 3-day flash sale. And that's at the bottom of this funnel. They will then decide, are they going to purchase? And that's how you get clients. Now, remember, this is step 4. So we've moved further down the path of, living this digital nomad lifestyle, but you can already be traveling as a nomad while doing this. Okay. I would say by step 3, you can start living as a digital nomad, but this is kind of a bit more advanced so that you can make money consistently every single month. Okay.
Andrea,
So
while you're talking about your points, I'm going to put a link on the chat for your digital nomad checklist. So this is an example of a
awesome.
giveaway, so people can download it. That's definitely related to the topic.
Yeah.
So that's, just click that and you can download this.
Cool.
Go
so
ahead.
That's actually an example, of a lead magnet that you guys can get or create, and think about what's a quick way you can give some value to your audience so that they can use it. Yeah. Okay, awesome. So in the step 4, we also want some monthly recurring revenue and targets. So once we get to this point, we're going to say, hey, I want to make 5K per month. Let's say that's your target. Then we're going to look at those products and offers we put together and try and create a system that allows us to reach that every single month. Okay. And then, I said, remember, either go from 2K, 5K, 10K, whatever it is, create a realistic target for yourself, and don't be kind of impacted or influenced by what you see on social media, and don't think, oh, I'm not making enough, or I want to make like 500,000 K. Why am I not making like 2K, right? Start in increments. Once you make 2K, then you're going to make 5K, then you're going to make 10K. You got to take the steps, and you've got to move along the process. Awesome. Okay, guys, so that was step 4. This is very business oriented. So if you are going to be an entrepreneur or freelancer, that was very useful. If you're a remote worker, you can kind of skip that one because you're going to make a salary, which is pretty cool as well. But just remember, if you are a remote worker, that you should take into account what your income salary, well, what your income is going to be for that month. And then think about that when it comes to travel, which is the fifth step. So the fifth step is the fun step. Yay, we have, a system set up. We know we're making some money. Clients are coming in. And you know what? I started my travel plans before I even finished step 4. Even step 3 wasn't like completely done. But if you want to be very successful and very kind of, sorted, then you do all these 4-5 steps in this order. But I cheated a little bit, so yeah. But the fifth step, guys, is to create a travel plan. So this is the fun step, but it's very important because a lot of us are like, well, I'm just going to book a ticket. And I kind of like that YOLO attitude, but I'm also like, well, we need to take into account our budget and be mindful of our money so that we can be sustainable. So like I said, you can live in Bali for $2,000 a month. That's pretty cool. So let's get that money mindset out of our head that we need 10K a month to live the lifestyle of a digital nomad. And let's create a budget. So you're going to look at your salary, or if you're a remote worker, or you're going to look at your monthly income if you're an entrepreneur freelancer. And then we're going to take expenses into account. Now, Shlomo is the expert here with the financial freedom stuff. So he'll talk to you guys a lot about this, I'm sure. So I'm not going to talk about it in detail. But when you're budgeting, of course, you're going to look at your expenses. Look at your upfront costs, like your flights. These are once-off costs that you need to just incur. And then from there, once off, if we're going to one region, let's go Cape Town, I'm there now, all the way to Bali. That's a long flight, quite expensive, but once off. But I'm going to stay in Indonesia or Southeast Asia for 3 months. So I can just say, okay, that's my initial cost. And then from there, I might have some internal flights, but I'll take that into my monthly budget. Okay, so budget, guys, look at your income and then minus your expenses. That's pretty basic, but a lot of us forget to do that. And remember, there's going to be some things that come up that you might not have expected. So travel insurance, visas, if you get sick, so you might have travel insurance, but maybe it doesn't cover something, or maybe you get to an Airbnb and it's terrible and you need to change and you lose some money. So remember to always have a bit of a safety net when you start traveling so that you have some money to tap into in case something goes wrong. Okay, so budget. This is part of your step number 5 in creating a travel plan. Then locations. Now, choose your locations wisely, guys. Align it with your budget and your income, of course. Some really cool, cheap locations if you want to get started are Bansko, Bulgaria. That's where me and Shlomo were. It was super cheap.
+1 for that.
Yeah, it was only like 300 euros for my apartment for the month. I'm not even joking. And
mine was even less.
Really?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. 200 euros, 250, something like that.
And it's like weird. It's like once I paid that, I'm like, I can't actually leave this place because it's too cheap. So it was just like quite like shock. Anyways, but I loved it because it was really affordable. There was a great nomad community there. And yeah, it was pretty good. Like all the restaurants are nice. Like I was getting work done. It's a cool co-working space there. So there's actually a few. So you know what? Like there's so many cool locations that you can opt for depending on your interests, like where you want to go all over the world. Of course, we all have bucket list destinations that might be a bit expensive, but let's get there, right? So once you start making more money, you can hit those. But yeah, I would also look at slow and fast travel in your travel plan. Slow travel means you kind of staying in a place for at least a month. That could even be considered fast, but 1 to 3 months, and some people even stay in one place for 6 months. And then we get this debate like, are you a digital nomad if you're in one place for 6 months? Guys, you make the rules. There are no rules about being a digital nomad. You figure out what works for you. That's my belief in any event. And I say slow travel is probably better when you're starting out, because when you're hopping around, it can be really hard to get into a routine and to stay focused. So
it's also better for families. So we slow travel because it's much easier with kids. And to be honest, I like just being in one place and, get to live there and not just hop there and do like check, go.
Yeah.
So that's
For sure. I also prefer slow travel because, you know, I want to do so much stuff. So if I'm in a place for 10, like if I'm in a place for like 1 week or something, then I know I just get a bit of FOMO. Like I think I'm going to miss out or I haven't done certain things. So slow travel is generally always better. If you want to do faster travel just to see things, you can join, maybe you can take like a little bit of a break. Like I'm going to test some retreats out next year that are 10 days long, but we can still work 4 hours a day and still get to see all kind of the top sites of the place, like Egypt or Cappadocia or whatever. But then you can stay on in those locations longer with new friends that you make. So there's different ways you can do it, but do what works for you guys. Okay, so that's step number 5, and that's creating a travel plan. Now, there's a lot more to it. I'm just giving you some tips and some extra things like today. But of course, you guys can ask some questions now in the comments or later as well. Okay, so those are my 5 steps to get into it and to get started. For those of you who are remote workers, sorry, there's a little bit geared towards freelancers and entrepreneurs more, but I think, you know, I work with all 3 different groups and it's very individual. So each one of you will have a very individual journey. You know, there's no cookie cutter situation for anyone. So it's, yeah, hopefully could touch on as many of you as possible. I will mention 3 mistakes that digital nomads make. And then if you guys want to ask questions, you can feel free. I'm just going to check the time. What's the time, Shoma? Okay, yeah, I'm going to rush. Okay, I'm going to rush through these quickly. Okay, so you can ask questions. So 3 mistakes, and I already touched a little bit on this. Number 1 is quitting your job with no plan. I will say I did have a plan when I did my thing, but when I quit my job, I was really sick of it. I was done with, I was a head of marketing at a company, and the company actually wasn't bad, but at the time my boss was like not great, and it was just like not a good situation, and I just really wanted to leave. So I kind of just was fed up, and I was like, I'm gonna quit my job and start my business, and this is gonna happen for me. So I wouldn't recommend it because for like about 6 months, I was struggling there to get everything sorted. But yeah, I would say if you do the transition, it is better. But if you're impatient like me, make sure you have some savings and make sure you have some sort of plan. If you have 0 plan, do not do this. It is a huge mistake. At least, you know, I had a website that I built at the same time and these things. So that's something like because I look back now and I'm like, damn, like I could have said to my boss at the time, yeah, I'll just work remotely and do part-time. And I could have actually had some money coming in as a part-time digital marketing consultant, for example. And that would have really helped me at the time to just be in a more stable situation. So remember, there's a lot of options that you can do in making the transition. Okay, number 2 is traveling with no budget control. I kind of touched on these things, but if you just like gonna, you know, you're like, I'm traveling, this is sick, like, let's go. And you're taking out your wallet. In a month, you're probably gonna like have no money left and be like, why did I leave my job? So please just manage your finances, because if you don't, you can get into that situation. And I have actually seen that happen with some people, not that I've worked with, but when I've been traveling, they've like run out of money basically. So, and they need to really like struggle to get a client, etc. So budget, travel sustainably, and also be mindful of where you're traveling. So travel in cheaper places if your income threshold is lower. Okay. And yeah, the 3rd one is having no work-life balance. So sometimes we can really be like, for example, me as well does this sometimes, but I really try and work on this. But as an entrepreneur or freelancer, you might be like, I've got to make money, I've got to get clients, I don't have time, I've got to work it out, you know, and then you're kind of losing the point of having more freedom and flexibility in traveling. You want to be able to see things, you want to be able to meet people, and you want to be able to experience the lifestyle. And I definitely struggled with this in the beginning, but then I was like, you know what, I'm going to take my time and the business will grow as it should. So remember to enjoy what you've chosen to do and really embrace that. Okay, so that's my 3 mistakes. Okay, guys, so we have like what, like 7 minutes if you want to ask questions. So come at me.
And while we're waiting for questions, so you can either unmute yourself and ask, or write it in the chat. And if you want to be, you don't want you want it to be anonymous, just send to any of us and we'll just read it. That's okay too. I also wanted to add that on our program, so the program is called 5K to a Digital Nomad. Sorry.
5K Freedom Fast Track.
The 5K Fast Track for Digital Nomad. Sorry, I missed that.
That's okay.
So Andrea spoke all about the planning stage and becoming a digital nomad. And I want to add that on top of all these things for planning to be a digital nomad, the point is being sustainable financially and also make this lifestyle happen for you. So Andrea is teaching about building that lifestyle, and I'm teaching how to make it sustainable with savings and investment and tracking your finances. So it all goes together. It's very important, but it's not money for the sake of making money. It's money for the sake of making the lifestyle that you want for yourself work for you.
Amazing. Yeah, exactly. And that's why I think we're such a good team, because I really, that financial freedom aspect is so important. And for us to do this long term and also adapt it to our own personal lifestyles, having that financial freedom knowledge on top of all these other steps is extremely important. So yeah, I'm excited for the program. I think it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be our first program working together. We're taking all our both of our content and knowledge and putting it in one program. So I think it's gonna be really good.
We're starting on November 15th. So if you want more details, although I can put a link here if people want to check it out. It's here in the chat. So yeah, all details are there. It's time for questions if people want. But we have, yeah.
Will you read them?
Okay. Anything else, Andrea?
Oh, we don't have any more questions. Okay, cool.
No questions coming.
Okay, guys. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I hope that was helpful. Like I said, it's just touching the surface, but yeah, if you could take anything away from today, then I'm so glad that you joined. Thank you for giving us your time. Yeah, and if you want to work with me or Shlomo, or you want to join our program, just feel free to contact us or send us a DM. I think you put the link there. And yeah, otherwise, thanks, guys, and hoping I can connect with all of you somewhere in the world soon.
Thank you very much, Andrea, for coming here and educating us. And I'll see you soon, I guess.